Well, last week, 8 people from Third City Christian Church traveled to Nairobi, Kenya, for the purpose of understanding a little bit more about Mission of Hope International. And before I describe to you in a very basic sense what MOHI is, I want to tell you why I went. Because I will tell you that I've been in ministry now for like 34 years. And I've never felt any different about this, and still don't, that my primary call is to serve in the American church, in a local church like this one. I haven't changed my mind about that. I think this is where God wants me to be. But last year, my daughter Rachel, who's also in ministry, challenged me. She said, "Dad, I just don't know how you can really lead locally in the church unless you open your eyes to the wider world of missions." And so it got me thinking. And then my friend Dick Alexander from Indianapolis, Indiana, challenged me, said, "Scott, I would love to take you to Nairobi, Kenya, so you can see firsthand what I think is one of the great missions organizations in the world." And so that got me thinking, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not going myself. I'm a chicken. I'm not going myself. And I'm going to see if God raises up some people who want to go too. And it was really kind of miraculous how this occurred, to be honest. People started coming to me and saying, "Hey, I want to go. I need to go there." And so we put together a team. And I want to give you a very quick summary of what MOHI is, what they do to bring hope to the slums of Nairobi. And then I'm going to invite several from our task force to share with you some of their observations. And then at the end of the service, I want to talk to you a little bit more about our partnership with Missions of Hope International, specifically in the slums. Missions of Hope exists in the form of schools, churches, medical clinics, and training centers to share the love of Jesus Christ in one of the toughest slums in the world. And they're bringing hope to orphaned and vulnerable children through their various initiatives. And so I wanted to introduce you to a couple that we met, Wallace and Mary Camus. The Camus are the ones who started this mission. It came from the vision of Mary. Mary's Kenyan. She lived about 3 hours outside of Nairobi. She went to college there, and one of her friends introduced her to the slums of Nairobi. She had no idea they existed. She went in there and she saw the devastation. And just to give you a picture of what the slums are, I want to give you a map comparison. The Matahari Valley slums are a series of urban slums that are contained in a 3-mile by half-mile grid. So to put that in perspective, if you took a box and drew it from, from Capitol Avenue down to 13th Street, if you went out to Engelman Road and over to roughly, I think that's Custer Avenue, that's the perimeter of this slum area in Nairobi. So think about this. In that place, put the population of Omaha, Nebraska, and all of its suburbs. Does that give you a perspective of what exists there? And so anyway, Mary saw and she smelled and she was devastated firsthand by the experience of seeing the children running aimlessly, unclothed, men laying in the streets that appeared to be dead because of drunkenness. And she thought, why aren't these children in school? But then she left the slum, went back to the university, eventually came to the United States and finished up her education in child services. And then she went back to Nairobi, and that's where she met her husband, Wallace, who was a CFO in an African insurance company. So they married a year later, and they began their work with Missions of Hope International. They started a school with 50 students in it, very modestly. And then by 2002, there were 140 children in the school. And then by 2004, they partnered with Christian Mission Fellowship as a stateside missions organization, which allowed them to expand education through American child sponsorships, which is a huge boost for them. So now they offer support and encouragement to roughly 16,000 children in 16 centers throughout the Matahari Valley slums. They do it with 960 people total. So to put that into perspective, that's 1 for every 17 child they serve. The typical classroom has 1 teacher for 35 to 50 students. So think about us in Grand Island. Approximately 1,500 people work in the Grand Island public school system. They service roughly 9,600 students, so the ratio there is 1 for 6. So you can see what they're up against in Nairobi. Mohi is now expanding to other regions in Kenya, including Turkana, which borders the Sudan. And if you know anything about world geography and the state of the world, you know that Sudan is a highly Muslim area. And so they're inviting, these Muslim border towns are inviting Missions of Hope to bring their schools because they need the help. And that's a great opportunity. Our team is very excited about the potential that exists for our partnership as a church with the area, the slum called the Kariobangi area. It is at Kariobangi where they have begun a skills center so they can train adults to bring sustenance to their family through micro businesses in the neighborhood. And so things like food sales, cosmetology, welding classes, mechanics classes, clothing manufacturing, to name a few. They have that center there, but they want to put a school and they want to put health services there. And so we were very excited to hear that maybe our church could be a part of that. Now, as you probably understand, they are very concerned about spiritual development, and Mission of Hope International has started 22 churches in that area so far. So that's exciting too. Well, I'm going to invite our panel to come up. These are people that took the trip along with me. Some great people. Give them a big round of applause. They went there representing you. I don't even know who's coming out. I hope somebody is. Are you coming? Where are you? Come on. Oh, there they are. Michael's back there entertaining everybody, telling jokes. Michael, good to see you. There's Nate. Hi, Melanie. And there's Dell. Have a seat. Good to see you. Have a seat. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for taking this trip. I missed you over the last couple of days. We spent 40 hours on airplanes in the last week and a half, and you look pretty fresh. Not too bad. Not too bad. Well, I want to get this rolling. I don't want to waste any time. So just ask some questions and just answer as best you can, and I'll just try to keep things moving. We're also going to rotate some pictures and videos at this time, so if you want to take a look once in a while, you can see what's going on. Okay, so just tell me something about your trip to Kenya that's different from life as we know it in the United States, or maybe even something that's similar. I don't know. Just give us some feedback on life as you observed it in Kenya.
Excuse me. One thing that
Is that mic on?
Thank you. One thing that I noticed was that there is probably a lot of people like us working, having jobs, and then there's another set of people that that frankly are struggling with life in every aspect, and to see them side by side was hard for me, a disconnect. We walked through one of the slums, and one of the moms stopped me and said, I bent down to take a picture and talk to her little girl, who was about 2 years old, and she stopped me and she said, would you take her back to America? And she asked me that twice, and I thought how much she must love her daughter to want the best for her, and yet she was struggling to be able to have the basic needs for her. So,
one of the biggest things that really struck me when we were in the slums is that they don't have a daily work life. You ask them what they do for money, and they do casual labor. One lady will wash clothes for other people if she is lucky, and if she's not, she has to go sell herself. A guy that we went into his home, and a home is a 4x8 little shanty that's made out of rusty metal, and it's just jam-packed in there. And he would try to go to different places, buy things, and then resell it. But a lot of times he was not successful, and would have to do other things to be able to provide for his family for that one day. A lot of them live on just $1 a day to feed their family.
That's one of the reasons why we're so excited about the microfinance initiatives that Mission of Hope offers people like the gentleman you met, because it can help him sustain his family with real income that comes from his career that they help him build. It was very exciting for us to see that. Nate?
One of the huge differences that obviously is just overwhelming and sticks out is just their sanitation and like trash service.
Did you see some trash services that existed there? I didn't see anything like that.
Nothing.
No,
Absolutely. I mean, you don't even know what you're walking on when you're there. And the terrain is almost, if you have any special needs or anything, I mean, it would be impossible to get around. But just the smell is also overwhelming. So I kind of prepared myself with like pictures and videos, but I think it's the smell that once you're standing in it that overwhelms you. And just, that's it.
For me, it was probably just the level of poverty. Like going over there, I think I had an idea of what we would call poverty in America, and I don't think there's a picture we could put on stage that would do justice to explain what it is. Because I think in America, when we look at poverty, we think of, well, I don't have, like that's probably one of the poorest people in America could be defined by, I don't have access to something that I want. Where when you go, poverty over there is, I'm probably going to die. It's simply being able to live, being able to have a sustainable life. So in my mind, I thought we'd go over there and I'd come back and be like, oh my gosh, we can go make their lives better. Mm-hmm. Now I sit here and say, no, we can give them a life. Like that's our resource capability for them. And the story that hit me the hardest walking through the slums was we were walking through, and we were getting a tour of where these people live, and I see this little boy, probably 3 years old, in ragged clothes. And he doesn't have any shoes on, and all I could do is sit there and see my 3-year-old son, and it's just heart-wrenching.
I think all of us had experiences like that, Michael. I know that, I did too. What's something that you saw this week that showed you Jesus? Where did you see Jesus in the heart of maybe the hardest location on earth, or one of the hardest locations on earth? Where did you see Jesus show up?
I saw it in the joy of the kids when we went to the schools. They were just full of joy. They sang for us, they welcomed us, and they were having fun learning. And I also saw it in the staff that worked there. They were recruiting the people that would least likely be able to go to school, least likely to have some work. They were recruiting those people to come and be a part of this.
They have a methodology with social workers. The social workers go into the neighborhoods. They know the neighborhoods know them. The social workers find the hardest situations in the slums to offer education to those children.
Mine was in a story that they told us on our orientation day. There's a community outside of Nairobi that approached Mohi about building a school there, and it's a Muslim community. They don't know Christ there, and they approached Mohi about building the school. Mohi met with them, and eventually they said no, because they were not going to allow them to teach Christianity. So Mohi left, and the very next day, this community called them up and said, we want you here. You can teach about Christ in these schools. We really need you here. So Christ is alive there.
I saw it from the top to the bottom, from Wallace and Mary to all the staff members, and just to see the joy on the kids' faces when you go in the classrooms. In our mind, we're looking at them and some of them don't even have shoes on. You look across the rows and you'll be sitting in a fourth grade classroom, and some of the kids will look like they're second grade. Mm-hmm. So. But
yeah,
just to see the joy and the passion they all have.
One of the things that all of us remarked on at some point or another, Nate, was that we wondered what it would be like if strangers came into one of our GIPS or Northwest High School classrooms and what our students would respond, how they would respond. They'd be, oh, here we go again, you know, a bunch of people come in to see what we do here, you know. Man, it was a different view about how we were welcomed by those classrooms, wasn't it?
I would just say community, this is Kenya as a country, I think. I think the way Jesus intended us to be in community with each other, they actually live out every day. And I think part of that is probably the extreme poverty that they have to rely on each other for basic needs to be met. But you also just saw it with Mary and Wallace. I mean, they opened up their home to 14 or 15 of us. There was workers that were living with them that were full-time employees of Mohi, and it was just, this is the way we're going to live. We're going to live life together. And I mean, that's right out of Scripture. So
We made some lifelong friends on our trip in just 6 days there, didn't we? Really, just people that we're going to always pray for and love, you know.
except for Reuben.
Except for Reuben. We're hoping to bring Reuben here someday. You'll know what we mean when he gets here. So do you see any similarities between Third City Christian Church and Mission of Hope International in terms of our mission, purpose, values? What are some similarities you see?
First is that they want to impact the whole family, starting with the kids, obviously, in school, teaching them about Christ, but they want to train the parents. They really want to provide a better life for the whole family, not just for one generation.
And we do. I think that was one of the things that struck me even initially when Dick told me about this ministry is, you know, that's what our church is all about, is children, kids, students, families changing with the gospel of Christ being the catalyst for that. So I love that about them, that we saw that too. Nate?
I would say just empowerment. They give the students and their parents the tools, but they don't give handouts. They make them buy into it, which, I mean, yeah, they focus on the whole family. It's not, bring your kids, we're giving them a good education, but if those kids have to go home to a drunk dad that's beating their mom, I mean, how good is that?
Yeah. Yeah, they really emphasize that, don't they, Nate? The whole family ministry. Michael?
I mean, same thing. I think our blueprints have a lot of oversight. The one thing that stands out to me is they're very much about sustainability. So they're not a handout ministry, you know. Just like we're not we want people to come here and learn to be disciples. We want people to serve, grow, thrive. They want the exact same thing out of everyone, yet their growth is coming through the eyes of the children, because they know that if they can get these kids educated, raised up, that they're going to have an ability to earn an income where sometimes their parents won't.
Well, how can you envision us as a church partnering further on with Mission of Hope International? What kind of things come to mind?
I was just struck by the largeness of their vision at Mission of Hope and how it permeates everything, and there's always more people to be reached, and who can we partner with to do that? And I think that is a wonderful thing that can be a learning experience even for us. But I think that the fact that they have such a big vision and that we are looking to reach not only this community but the world, I think they're great people to partner with for that reason.
They certainly have a world vision. That's why they call themselves Missions of Hope International. They don't see themselves being contained to the slums of Nairobi. They see this issue worldwide, and they want to expand out into that. So, Melanie?
There's a lot of things that our church can do to help them and support them. Number one would be child sponsorship, but also it would be people going over there and help training them in skills or doing VBS. Cheryl, I overheard a conversation she was having with Mary, and she asked how our ladies here at the church, they make quilts, and how we could maybe help them out and send some quilts for their boarding schools. And Mary said, you know, that's great, but what we would like even more is if some people would come over and show us how to make those quilts so that they could do it on their own and they could sell them even.
Becomes another micro business that they can create. Yeah.
Obviously, we could partner with them on a project, child sponsorships. But yeah, sending short-term teams over there. You asked Wallace or Mary, would you rather have $25,000 or should we send a team? They tell you to send the team every time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, without seeing it and living in it and just witnessing everything, you kind of, if you just send money, I feel like you're missing out on something.
Yeah, what can we do to partnership? I guess I counter your question with what can't we do? So there's 1 million people in 3 square miles. Let's call 500,000 children. We could send over $5 million that would build 10 schools, and it still wouldn't reach all of them. So I think we can and should do everything in our power, because like I said earlier, this isn't any dollar sent over there isn't a dollar that's going to help make their lives better. It's a dollar that's going to help a child have a life. Mm-hmm. So I think we should do and can do as much as we can. You know?
Yeah. We're going to pray for the Guatemala team. We have a team right now that's on the ground in Guatemala. They're doing some great things there. We know they are. We've been doing things there for 5 or 6 years, and it's an awesome place. So I'm going to have one of you, if someone would like to volunteer to pray for Guatemala. We're going to move into communion time. And so then after communion, I'll come back. After offering, I'll come back, and we'll talk a little bit more about our partnership with Mission of Hope International. Thank you.
Would you pray with me? Father God, I'm just thankful for this church, that it's a thriving church, Father, that we have a vision for this community, Father, for our nation and now even for the world, Father. I would just ask that you would bless that vision. I would ask for the team in Guatemala right now, that you would be able to empower them with your Spirit. Even though they might be tired, even though things might be new for them, you would empower them with their spirit so they would feel the love that they can convey to the people there. I would ask that you would show them what they are to learn and what they are to do to minister to the people there. And we thank you for that. Amen.
Well, I'd like to thank our missions team for sponsoring, giving us an opportunity, commissioning us to take this trip to Nairobi. And it was by the generosity of one of our church families that most of the folks were able to take that journey. And Christian Mission Fellowship sponsored my ability to go on that trip. So we appreciate it very deeply that these people cared about us that much. One of the things that we came back realizing is, and I think you maybe got a glimpse of it here this morning, there's just really a lot we can do as a church in Grand Island for the Missions of Hope International vision. And we feel like we are a perfect match to make a difference in Nairobi. And one of the things that we really think we can do is to become a church that partners with children individually through child sponsorship. And so we're hoping that this fall we can have a large church-wide initiative to invite whoever wishes to come alongside us and sponsor a child so they can receive the resources of Mission of Hope International. As a matter of fact, Jackie and I were able to sponsor a child this week. Her name is Diane. I think we have a picture of her. There she is. You can see she was completely thrilled to meet me. She's a preschool child, and she was quite nervous about it, and I can understand why. I'd be intimidated too if I were her. But we're now sponsoring Diane, and that means that her education through Missions of Hope International will be sustained throughout the time of her educational time up through high school. That's our prayer. And many of you will have that opportunity as well if you'd like to take that opportunity. And we hope that you'll start praying about that. Another thing is pray for our church as we explore partnership with Missions of Hope International. Our team to a person, as we came back, there's 22 centers throughout the Slum Valley. But there was one place that particularly got into our heart, and it was the Kariobangi slum. It was there that we saw great potential because the training center's there, but they don't have a school, they don't have a church, they don't have a medical center. And so we were thinking about our church and how we could really make a difference in that location. That is a place that Love Unlimited could go forth from here. So I just ask you to simply be praying about that. Pray how Grand Island can partner with the Kariobangi neighborhood. As I told Dick Alexander, our host, this is what we were thinking. I emailed him on the plane going home. He emailed me back yesterday, I think it was, and he said that when he heard that Grand Island might be willing to partner with the Kariobangi neighborhood, it brought him to tears, and he said, I will tell Mary to tell the thugs of the neighborhood a school is coming to your neighborhood. That's our prayer. So pray with us. Thank you.